My name's Dean Ogden. I'm a recording artist. I'm a drummer. I'm a producer. Do a lot of consulting for record labels. Do a lot of consulting for artists. And I also founded Scorecast, which is one of the biggest hubs on the internet for composers in the media vector. I do a lot of traveling. I'm on the road a lot, 220 plus days a year as a professional musician. And the reason why is because of the way I think that I record things. I don't do a lot of studio recording. I do a lot of field recording, and then I take the field recordings back to the studio and create from there. I love being with people, and I love being out in the wild and meeting new talent and working with musicians and learning new languages and doing those kinds of things. That's really where I want to live creatively. Samples are a part of my world, though, because, sometimes if you're doing deadline-driven work, you've got to get it out fast. You've got to get it out clean. You turn to samples because they're simpler. They're easier to work with. You don't have to go out. You don't have to get on a plane. You don't have to go anywhere. It's just right there in the box. Eduardo and I have been friends for, 16 years, 17 years, going back all the way to the turn of the millennium when he was just starting to sample things. And I was just starting my second career after being a professional drummer for a couple of decades as a media composer for television. And it's interesting because in the last, 5 years or so, as Eduardo has really ramped up his vocal library production, I've found myself more and more coming over to his way of thinking, and which I think is such a realistic, integrous, way of doing it. He's going for the real playable voice, if there is such a thing. And I think of anybody who's sampling vocals today, I think Eduardo comes the closest to the person actually being in the room with you. The breathing, the way that somebody leads off a phrase or decays a phrase, those kinds of vocal abilities are inherent in a professional vocalist, and he or she knows how to do that. I know the way that a stick bounces off the snare drum head differently than it bounces off a tom head or a floor head or a kick drum beat or whatever. But I'm a drummer. I'm supposed to know those things, right? I don't know that stuff about the human voice. I don't know those things and those characteristics and variables about how people sing. But I can hear them in Eduardo's work. I can hear how they fundamentally are supposed to sound, and I can hear the singer's intent, if that makes any sense. You can almost go down the line of his libraries to each one, and you can assign a different emotion to each one, And to me, that's the entire game, because that's what you'd ask a vocalist to do if you were working with them standing right here. The 4 different voices incorporated into one thing is phenomenal. And so I'm super excited about it. I've already started using it in my next album project. There's so much rich detail and so much being said through these voices and through these phrases and through these articulations that you'll never run out of opportunities. It's limitless what you can do with this thing. And I'm excited for people who have experienced his libraries before to open themselves up to this new world that he's created with this. It's everything that he's done before on steroids, and built for real emotional writing. There's a lot of genres that I hear that I think, this is great stuff. The people are super talented. The music is really good. The rights are great. But there's a lack of emotion to it. There's a lack of inflection of passion and desire and sadness and happiness and joy and fear and hate and just everything that you can think of that makes us human There's just a little bit of a lacking perspective there, and I think vocal codex really helps bring that back to life nicely. To have that emotion in a sampling suite like this, total game changer. Total game changer.